Hello guys, God bless each and every one of you. Just want to put a little check out and see, can I get a thumbs up, Sherry? You can hear and see me okay? Is that all good? If we got kind of picture and audio, are we going to have another kind of like shutdown over here with our technology, or are you still in waiting mode? Where are we at? Can you give me something just to say we are good to go? Don't want that. Can you guys hear me all right? Can you see me all right? Tell me something. I do not want to carry on and just like do what I did like last time when I'm on for like half an hour and you're still in the waiting mode. Oh, we're good to go. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for checking in. Going to be looking at quite a few actual articles for us today. Didn't want to put that into the description just in case they chose to just switch us off, which is what they kind of like to do. So we're going to be looking at a particular article that is titled von der Leyen unveils new EU censorship push online digital ID. But I'm also going to go through quite a few other just headlines and just see as the Lord leads which ones we should be looking into. So going to be starting now reading some headlines, guys, just bringing you a little bit up to speed to where things are. Going to be looking at the UK Reloaded, the People's Voice and the Harbinger's Daily and a few other sort of like places as well, just to give you a little bit of a refresh, let you know what's going on in and around the loco world that we find ourselves desperate to be rid of. So going to be looking and in a moment at von der Leyen unveils new EU censorship push, the online digital ID plans. Other headlines coming out here, guys. Bill introduced to strip US passports from Americans who criticize Israel. On September 11th, a date already etched into American memory, Republican Brian Mast quietly introduced a bill that could strip passports from US citizens for criticizing Israel. Interesting, isn't it, when we're looking also, guys, at what's being done relating to information, disinformation, IDs, and the taking away of everything that we're seeing. Here you go. Louisiana Surgeon General sounds the alarm. The COVID shot is deadlier than every vaccine in history combined. This is why we're still speaking out against these vaccines, guys, because so many people are starting to come forward a lot more braver, emboldened, after there's been some longitudinal science or studies relating to this, and they've been able to get their data out for everybody and literally turn around and saying, here, look, Louisiana Surgeon General Ralph Lee Abraham Jr. has sounded the alarm, declaring the COVID-19 vaccine has caused more deaths than all other vaccines in history combined. That's really quite troubling, isn't it? When you get actually, Louisiana Surgeon General, these guys are actually, doctors and medical practitioners, as opposed to Bill Gates and Tedros Ghebreyesus from the World Health Organization, who doesn't have so much as a sort of like O-level in science whatsoever. And yet these guys are the ones that come out with such evil policies. They bypass all of these safety protocols, and they're still rolling this out into children now, rollouts into nursing homes and the elderly and the frail. Really shocking and astonishing news reports coming out from W77 yesterday, just in and around Fox News presenter turning around and saying that homeless people in America ought to be euthanized and killed off by lethal injection, literally wanting to kill the homeless, trying to normalize this culture of death, which is what we've been covering, have we not, over this period of time. Continuing with death, leaked government files expose Mossad plot to assassinate Charlie Kirk in 2025. Interesting articles coming out. Do you remember the NASA sort of like a diagnosis saying about this year, and all of the beast system had got planned? Part of that was the capture and torture of Americans in living color and in prime time. So Charlie Kirk's death was no random tragedy. It was the opening act of a manufactured civil war orchestrated down to the last frame, seeing so many things coming out about this now. They've caught this apparent sort of like shooter, which is really a little bit sort of like, I'm not so sure. I had to revisit that last night, hoping I wasn't offending the Lord by revisiting something he told me to back away from. But my curiosity, my sort of like, mind wants to find out the truth. I'm aware many people don't, but actually I think this is really telling when we're getting into that sort of like assassination culture, and what I'm suspecting will be an opportunity for the beast system to literally silence its, sort of like opposers and dissenters that aren't towing the line. The WEF has already spoken out about this quite boldly and arrogantly, saying that now we're going to be enforcing our will. That's what Larry Fink has turned around and said, as well as Ursula von der Leyen turning around and saying we're going to be getting a lot more aggressive now and drawing those particular battle lines, etc. So in my opinion, I think we're going to be seeing a few more of these assassinations, and them to be made as public spectacles. And if I were a betting man, which is what I'm not, I wouldn't be surprised if they were going to take out someone over here in the UK, namely, Tommy Robinson, another high-profile figure who was able to rally over 3 million people through the streets of London just a few days ago. Literally, so many people across the country standing up against the assault on freedom of speech. And this guy's being really collective, also being another particular threat to the beast system and the deep states, a guy who's already sort of been thrown behind, bars for being a journalist, speaking the truth. This is what they have to their repertoire. They'll either lock you up or they'll just shoot you. This is literally where we are heading right here and right now. So very interesting things when we're looking at this assassination as well, relating to, I suspect that there were 4 people in play in this. You've got obviously the main shooter on the roof. That would be number 1 for me. Then you've got the guy in the black trousers and the white cap, him doing some baseball sort of a thing. Then you've got another guy who's got something underneath his arm, who looks like he's got a firearm underneath already loaded, as well as, another guy in the black that's doing all of these other sort of things as well. And additionally, someone right behind under the letter O, who almost seems to be having something pointing as well. So really interesting, all hiding in plain sight. This is what they did very similarly to the JFK shootings, with the kill shot actually being, sort of JFK's wife, as she put that underneath his chin and then put the gun behind the actual car seat. You have to see it for yourself to believe it. And when you see it, you're like, how did I miss that? So all of this sort of like deception, all of this sort of like deceit, these countermeasures, counter stories, taking away the importance of what it is that they're trying to do, which is silencing the opposition. Now we're getting into the culture of death continuing. FDA issues bombshell ruling. This is like the FDA, guys. This isn't some sort of like, small pharmaceutical company, in a supermarket. This is the FDA issues bombshell ruling. COVID jabs are extra lethal to children. And this is why we speak about that. And when they're having 72 injections before the age of like 5 or 6, that's unacceptable. And then they're wanting to also put this into the womb before they've even sort of like drawn their first breath. The Food and Drug Administration has issued a bombshell ruling exposing the COVID-19 vaccines as extra lethal to children, linking the shots to the deaths of 25 American kids. This is unbelievable statistics that they want to bury. And they had this, it was just like everything surrounding compliances pertaining to fear. They want you to be fearful. They want you to be walking in this fear. Are they going to take me out? And I had that paranoia myself, almost, with being positive ID, people following me, random people pulling up in white vans out of nowhere. I'm being photographed, and it's just like, right, I get a body camera just to protect myself and some legal knives I can carry just in case someone wants to be stupid, to put you into this state of fear. And it's like, no, actually, we need to be placing ourselves under the protection of our mighty God, being in and under the shadow of his mighty wing, not looking to ourselves and our cleverness or our skill set or anything of that sort to protect us, but just how sort of like, fearful they want you to be. Just like when the COVID ran out, it was all like dead people all on the streets and they were taking photographs. And then they retracted all of it by saying, oh, no, I don't know what that was all about. But by that time, the damage has been done, had it not. people were fear-mongered into compliance, coerced and manipulated, and the deviance attached to that. The labeling of individuals. We're talking around, you know, you've got homeless people that are down and out for one reason or another. And what we're doing as a civilized society, or at least in America's case, is wanting to kill them. Please do see W77's posting a little video clip, and you've got the Fox News presenter himself coming out and saying this. What does that tell you about our society, on how inhumane we're really turning out to be, where we want to assassinate people live as a public spectacle, as we want to start killing people with these vaccines and what's overhead, and the food and the weaponizing of everything else against them? This culture of death that we're seeing is absolutely barbaric. And the whole point is to make you fearful so that you're compliant, so that you toe the line. You don't want none of that heat there now. So you just do your best to pucker up and bend over. That's what it wants. It doesn't want you standing up or standing out. These are lethal to children. And we need to have voices out there that also speak about these type and styles of murder. Just an unbelievable article headline coming out here as well. Liberal, there you go. Teacher forced 10-year-olds to watch Charlie Kirk's murder on repeat. The Toronto School Board is probing a twisted Liberal teacher who allegedly forced his class of 10-year-olds to watch footage of Charlie Kirk's murder on repeat, traumatizing the child in a blatant act of elite-driven coercion. That is absolutely horrific and barbaric. These certificates that are on movies don't really seem to matter anyway. There'll be blasphemies, there'll be F-bombs, and there'll be all of these types of stuff, literally just to sort of like, you know, weaken the child's sort of like immunity to this world, and, you know, it inflict all of this darkness in advance upon them, desensitizing them to violence and all that sort of stuff. So then they can start playing all of these sort of like first-person shooters and all this sort of stuff. What's really interesting, and no one wants to have this sort of conversation about it, all right, but what's interesting is that a lot of the school shooters that are over in the US, they are actually the LGBTQ lot, all transgenders or identify as non-binary, etc. Go into X and start doing a little bit of your research as well and seeing the big connect there. It's unbelievable that you're inflicting that upon children as well. A lot of teachers and a lot of headmasters, etc., are being fired and sacked by how it is that they've responded to the Charlie Kirk assassination. And that's really quite telling, isn't it? And we mentioned the other day that Charlie Kirk would say, you know a lot about a person when someone gets killed. Here you go. Exhibit A styly. Charlie Kirk shooter lived with transgender partner who's now cooperating with the FBI. Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old accused of fatally shooting Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, was living with a transgender partner who is now cooperating with federal investigators, according to multiple reports. Steps on our point there somewhat. And here you go, when all this is all going off and going a little bit peak-tong, you can always rely upon old Vlad Putin to come out and try and wave some sort of like hypocritical white flag. Here you go. The future belongs to those who value love, friendship, and family, says Vlad Putin. It's like, really? Unbelievable. Humanity will need to master its new technological horizon while remaining rooted in family values, according to Russian President Vladimir Putin, speaking at the United Cultures Forum in St. Petersburg on Friday. Can anyone just say hypocrite? All right, and this is when it gets really interesting. If you're over here in the UK, okay, congratulations, Brits, for speaking up and speaking out and against some of these tyrannies relating to the imposition and the taking away of our freedom. Well, the freedom to protest was slapped down royally as millions turn up for Unite the Kingdom rally in London. What was really amazing is that there was so many, and they just literally couldn't contain all of the crowd. Vast amounts. Demonstrators filled central London on Saturday for the Unite the Kingdom rally led by right-wing activist Tony Robinson. Let me tell you right now, that boy is a massive target. Okay, the Metropolitan Police, lol, deployed more than 1,600 police across the city. The march saw demonstrators arrive in Stamford Street near Waterloo Bridge at 11:30 before beginning their march towards the south end of Whitehall. The event official website described it as the largest outdoor free speech event in the UK has ever seen, featuring truth tellers from across Europe and the United States. And this is when they all lie about that as well. They did it through the COVID years, wasn't it? Oh, there's a few hundred people turning up, and you've got like the whole of the city at standstill, you know? And it's like you got hundreds and hundreds of thousands, and it's just like give over. I give over. And then it'll be like media blockouts. What I found really sort of like, ooh, and this is when I got a little bit sort of like detached from watching, and I was meant to have a day off, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, but looking at some of these articles as well, you've got Elon Musk there being interviewed by, you know, Tony Robertson. Then you've got Elon Musk with like some Orwell's t-shirt with an all-seeing eye. Instantly, I'm just like, okay, Mr. Controlled Opposition, here you go. Wasn't this what it was all about? Oh, Elon, you've got a little bit of a rapport because you've got, you know, sort of like X. So we're going to pretend to hire and fire you nonsense. And then we'll promote you by giving you the black eye promotion sort of like tag. And then we'll send you out as controlled opposition, pretending to be one of the people for the people. And this guy's literally turning around and sort of like stirring up violence in a sense. And you've got to fight, you've got to do all this. And, you know, sort of like pushing the civil war factor even high, elevating that even more. And it's like, dude, man, seriously, go and check out your own country, blood, before you start coming over here, or at least, you know, be interviewed telling us Brits on how it is that we should be, you know, operating ourselves. So I was a bit disgruntled by that, because it's just like, no, that's not okay to be coming and doing all of that. It's a kind of a little bit of a how dare you moment, if you will. But that was really sort of like very telling. So the police have warned that the protest has become so busy that it is no longer possible for people to get into several streets in Westminster. And the police were deliberately veering off, all right, the sort of like protesters down different alleys and different places away from it, under the pretense that they couldn't get people there. But they were deliberately doing that and then tearing them all up against Antifa, who was doing a counter sort of like protest, and then that all kicking off. And then it's a case of, oh yeah, now the thuggery of the police force comes out. They're justified to break their own rules and sort of like beating up their own civilians, which they are literal thugs. And this was a perfect opportunity for them also, isn't it, to turn around and say, oh, it's getting too violent right now, you can't have any of this protesting. And this is part of what makes a democracy, is the right to protest, to have your voice heard. But it won't matter none, because it don't matter, because there was millions and millions and millions of people literally signing petitions on the UK government begging, all right, begging for this online safety bill to be repealed, and begging for another sort of general election, to say we don't want you guys in office. The damage that you are doing to this country is absolutely epic. And we've been saying it since we've been back here on YouTube. The whole purpose of all of this is to water down, destroy and desecrate British national sovereignty and identity, with the flooding of borders with migrants, already gearing them up for the Club of Rome's second kingdom, which is the UK rejoining Brexit and the European Union. And now we've got Ursula von der Leyen, the EU president, banging around that sort of like war drum and everything else. All it takes, guys, is a false flag, a black swan, or something like a Tony Robinson sort of like, you know, takeout, or another high profile figure. I'm telling you guys, there's going to be more of these en route. That would be where my money would be on, to silence that individual. Look what would then happen, causing such civil unrest, creating sort of like political martyrs, if you will, for the cause, when really, more often than not, these are inside jobs run by controlled opposition. So absolutely astonishing scenes that we saw there. Katie Hopkins was also on about that. She's been quite vocal when it comes to chemtrails and the poisoning of our sky, been very vocal when it comes to our rights, etc. different individuals and politicians speaking out against this. What's really more interesting is a case of actually who isn't speaking up for this, who doesn't go speaking up for freedom of speech, who doesn't go out and do that. So the other day, even though yesterday, though it was my day off, I failed you, Lord, I'm sorry, but I wasn't having none of it. Then you've got this sort of like, what, 145 countries around the world are voting for a two-state solution, and only 10, sort of like people like abstained from all of that. That's inconceivable. So I wrote to my local MP, saying, look, man, as a Brit, you don't have my vote. You didn't ask none of us, and you're doing all this. You got any idea of the heap of coal of, judgment that you're placing upon this island, this beautiful land, because of your ignorance? You really want to be poking God in the eye, because Israel is the apple of his eye. That's what you're basically doing. You don't realize what happens with dividing his land. You got any idea what consequence that you're doing? Don't even get me started on how epically this has failed with North Korea, South Korea, India, and Pakistan. And don't tell me how well that went with Germany, as everyone just carved up the spoils of war after World War II. That didn't work out well either. Turn around saying that's really working in Ireland and Northern Ireland. These two states do not work ever, especially when you've got, the Palestinians that don't want just a little bit of a sliver of somewhere else. They want all of it. They want all of the pie. Like, they've rejected everything else. So really astonishing what we're seeing here, guys. People are literally not being given the voice. And it's all well and good that we've had millions of people. Good for us Brits. I'm seeing so many flags and UK flags being flown because people love this country. It's okay to burn American flags and stuff, and that's just like, freedom of speech. But you burn an LGB flag or whatever, or Palestinian one, oh no, that's a hate crime. To see how sort of disgusting this literally is. And this is literally forcing and shaping, as per the prophet Daniel's amazing vision given to him by God. How beautiful that was for him to be able to be shown, to a certain degree, all of these end time kingdoms, the different kingdoms that are coming throughout the earth. And how it is that we, you and me and my brothers and sisters, are getting to see this literally take shape. Because it is all Revelation 17:13, given their power unto the beast, all one purpose, all of one mind. And we are the ones that get to see that taking shape now. How beautiful is some of the pictures here around Brits literally standing up against these tyrannies, not wanting any of that in their nation, wanting to be a place where you can have freedom of speech, you can talk and disagree with one another, and you don't have to get violent. You don't have to go suppressing everybody's voices or whatever, or, it doesn't have to be like that. But this is a society that they want to be sort of like having. Continuing with other headlines here, guys. Tucker Carlson said, well, Charlie Kirk urged Trump not to go to war with Iran. This is what happens when you become sort of like a political activist or a Christian activist. All of a sudden you get into some deep waters. You end up getting particularly, associated with some higher profile figures like the Vances, like the Trumps, as Kirk's body was on Air Force 2. Sort of like, this is what then happens. You become a threat. Which is why there's a little bit in my back of my head that's thinking, I'm not sure if it wasn't his own team and it wasn't his own sort of like, fellow peers. This body could have been a threat. He had the sort of like, he had the young people and the younger generation in his back pocket. Consider him either an ally or a threat. And I'm sorry, but Trump is controlled opposition any which way you cut it. Watching him also turning around, on other interviews with his hands down, flipping off the Illuminati pyramid like he does every single opportunity, just to tell his overlords that he's doing his best. Continuing with this. Sorry, it seems to have done something weird to me here. Here you go. Utah government says he prayed for 33 hours. Hello, Freemasons. That Charlie Kirk's killer was from another country. Got all of these connects as well. Please do see our Joseph Aquaviva as well with some of the connects that he's popped out for us. Trump vows to prosecute Soros following Charlie Kirk assassination. And here we go again, isn't it? Okay, we're going to prosecute you. We're going to arrest you. We're going to put you on trial and all of this sort of stuff. And whilst all this is going on, what happens to Jeffrey Epstein's client list? Gets buried by a vote in the Senate. How convenient. Whilst everybody was being distracted, because this is what these things are there for. Netanyahu says people who believe Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk are anti-Semites. Yeah, but that boy only had to just turn a few things around, and then that would have been it. A nation that, you know, hugely supports, you know, Israel in America would be in a serious amount of trouble if Charlie Kirk started to change his script. And he already was changing his script, because he was like saying, no, there's evidence to suggest that all of these attacks you turned off, all right, the dome, and evidence pertaining to the October 7th as well, about it being an inside job, and actually challenging Israel when it also comes to being the paedophile capital of the world. So as much as I love and adore Israel, she ain't perfect, none. And it's important that we expose that as well. Others are saying here, Charlie Kirk, false flag, FBI claims shooter ditched rifle in the woods, but video proves he left the scene empty-handed. So when some people are just like, oh, we don't want to talk about this. Oh, we don't want to talk about this. We don't want to be looking at this. I get that. But you can't come out with narratives like this and particular sort of, you know, storylines to get people to believe, or to make them feel safer, or to explain things to them, and then be caught out lying with evidence that suggests otherwise. This is not how you regain trust or make people feel safe around that. I saw the video of this guy coming off the roof, running across it several times, different angles. He didn't have nothing in his hand. There's no way he would have got down off the roof with a rifle. It was left there. That's how they got the thumbprint and saw him almost like break his ankle as he came down. And then we're seeing all these deranged liberal meltdowns on camera after getting fired for celebrating death of Charlie Kirk. So many other people celebrating violence and evil in this particular way. So here, some fanatical leftists and Ukrainian social media users have been openly celebrating the assassination of conservative American activist Charlie Kirk. Did the same thing with our Lord Jesus as well, wasn't it? Mocking and scoffing and laughing and taunting at him as he was publicly humiliated. Nothing's changed, has it really? Just a sick deprivation of people's minds that want to, you know, glorify him that. Here you go. Utah governor vows to pursue the death penalty for Charlie Kirk's killer. UK Home Office to house illegal migrants in student accommodation. Let's just leave that particular platform there. I'd like to take us to another one in a moment, guys, but I'd like to check in with you guys. We're going to go over to the news headlines coming out from UK Reloaded and see what's on there. Hi, Sherry. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for holding us up. Hi, Cher. Bless you. Thank you also. Yeah, Cher saying here, yeah, none of this surprises me at all. You will serve the Father of lives. It's all, yeah, absolutely. Our mod saying they're not surprised by what we're reading, what we're hearing. It just goes to show, does it not, how soon we are to the soon appearing and our rescue, our evacuation. But I also think it's going to get a lot worse before that actually happens as well. I think it is going to be. They're going to be making examples of people, throwing them in jail, assassinating them. And it's us next, church. I'm telling you, it's us next. Exactly. This is how they persecute Christians. No one's talking about that, really, are they? Good grief. Could you imagine if this guy was a Muslim of some sort? The hell, the violence that would be kicking off and kicking out. No, what was happening? People were going and having prayer vigils and being together and showing solidarity. Everyone rallying around and praying for his family. Other people are starting to actually, to the point of actually leaving that sort of like, you know, political party and its ideology because of how it is that they've conducted themselves. This isn't right. This is not what I'm down for. I don't want to be represented by this. Yeah, really good point there. No Name saying too much info can close doors, also adds to open. That's true. I agree with that. I think there's a comment over the weekend, someone saying, oh, there's so much going on, questioning everything. And I think, yeah, but question everything we must. We must ask these questions. There's a time to let it go and there's a time not to. But this is what we've been told, you know, still haven't had truth and honesty relating to JFK and who ended up doing all of that, despite Oliver Stone's great documentary sort of movie, whatever, with Kevin Costner in it, raised more questions than it did give answers. This magic bullet, as if. So we're just seeing this sort of like deception, and the world changes upon these lies. So it's important that we become those that can differentiate truth from fact. And we've got to do our own investigation sometimes. We've got to ask these questions because they're not being forthcoming or they're not being honest or congruent about anything. And they're manipulating and being deceptive. Same thing with the vaccine. Same thing with everything else that we're seeing. This is why we report so much to you guys so that you can make that informed decision. All right, Dan said this, or this is what was discussed. I'm going to go and look at that myself and find out if there's any, truth to some of this, so that you are not a sheep being just told what to believe or being told what to think by manipulation or coercive measures. So PSYOP is literally what they're literally using now and weaponizing that against civilians. We've got to ask some things. Some doors we've got to shut. I agree. Sherry's saying, yeah, I saw it once and I can't unsee it, and I didn't want to see what I saw. Yeah, it's not nice seeing those sorts of things. It's not. I get that. I'm the opposite. I'm totally the opposite. I need to see it. I need to, and then my brain starts, bird's eye viewing and starts to look out to everything else, and in that way. But yeah, it's not. And we are sort of like, yeah. We do come from a very graphic sort of orientated society, and I appreciate that. It's not something that people should be seeing, and most definitely isn't something that should be showing young children. We were saying before, pray tell that his kids never ever get to see that. Hi Alison, bless you. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Be careful with what you allow the eyes to see. Trauma is a spirit too. This is part of that, but also there's the other side of it, which I might add. I appreciate your point, is that turning a blind eye also is incredibly not okay. Just like pretending these things don't happen. I think part of the reason why the church is having its butt handed to it so much is because it hasn't stood up against some of these things and said no about it. We've turned away. We've been avoidant. You've opted for the path of least resistance. We keep saying it. And that's why I think this is happening. Imagine if we, through the COVID years, said, no, we ain't shutting our churches. We don't care whether you arrest us. We're going to pray where we want to pray, thank you very much. And we're going to preach the gospel no matter what you did to us and our freedom. Imagine if we stood up against the alphabet people and stood up against these other sins as well. Things could be a lot more different than what they are now. But the church didn't. It rolled over. Because we didn't want to look at some of these things, because we didn't want to talk about some of these things, do our research or ask some questions. But I also do appreciate also protecting yourselves from some of these horrors, also maintaining to a last degree, if you can, that element of innocence that we have within each of us. I get that too. That's why I bring those things to you. I go and look, and then I try and retranslate there for you. But some, as we said before, have curious minds and want to find out. Yeah, and Cher's agreeing with No Named here. Yeah, you're right. Demons are creeping all over, and this is it. Hi, Sub-Zero. Bless you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, it was just gruesome. Public execution. Of all the places that he could have, that round could have been sent. It was, and this is what we've been saying. So when we're creating videos through our lives saying that the World Economic Forum is going to be using force now, Larry Fink saying now's the time of force, etc. We now know why, don't we not? And then you've got others that are turning around and saying, oh, we're going to be driving this back with power and everything of this sort. And then you've got, you know, other politicians around that say, you know, being very aggressive with their narrative. They ain't messing about no more. The time for these guys to literally sort of like, you know, go about getting their Agenda 2030, 17 Sustainable Development Goals into fruition. It ain't happening fast enough. There's no way this beast system is going to push that back to a 2040 or 2050 agenda like they did from Agenda 21 to now Agenda 2030. They ain't going to do that. They got less than 5 years really to implement all of this. They ain't messing about, guys. I'm telling you, they're not messing about. And when we did the video the other day, before all of this all sort of happened, something this way comes. And I'm telling you, Charlie Kirk was the first, and poof, second would be my bet, Tony Robinson or other high political figures that they'll use. And then we were reading the other day, wasn't it, just how the Liberals were quite happy to see, you know, 50% happy to see Elon Musk or, you know, President Trump to be taken down and out. How sick is that? Despite how, you know, you might not like these individuals, that's not acceptable to be promoting death like that. You know, fire them, get them out of the White House or out of 10 Downing Street. Fair enough. But no, you don't have to go down that road, man. Absolutely no names. Yeah. The hero was, you know, Jesus was our example, suffering and being prepared to die, laying his life down, like we were reading the other day, you know. Just do not understand this, but this is where it's going to get to, guys. They're going to be televising, you know, beheadings throughout the tribulation. They'll be glorifying death in that particular way, like running games and all this sort of stuff, like their hunting games with the restrainer not being here. They'll have those sort of programs and things up and out. Hi there, Hebrews 12:29. Blessings to you, my friend. Yeah, exactly. And this is my prayer. This has been my prayer for you guys. You know, that the Lord will just bless you. Bless your families, bless your loved ones, whatever you've got going on in your life right now, the struggles, the battles, the victory, whatever it is, that God will just bless you. That in their last days that we may well have, they would be filled with joy and with love and laughter. That God would give you the desires of your heart so that maybe you wouldn't be like maybe I will be, wanting to flip this world off as we go up. But to have a little bit of like, oh yeah, you know, imagine if an angel came up to some of us right now and just says, you know, how do you feel about life? I think we'd want to lamp them. Do you know what I mean? Be like, just get out of my face, bruv. You know, what was so wonderful and enjoyable for life down on earth? I'd be just like, you know, but that's our prayer, is that you are blessed. That's our prayer here as a team, that God would just give you the desires of your heart, bless you and your children, those that have loved ones that aren't saved, that he provides for you during this time financially and emotionally and mentally, just wraps his loving arms around you. That's our prayer. That's my prayer for you guys, because that's what it's like to be Jesus to one another. When we, you know, we're suffering, we're all suffering. And that's exactly right. Blessings upon blessings to each and every one of you. That's why I start out. It's not like, hi guys, thanks for checking in anymore. Nah, man, we're done with that. It's about God bless you and yours. And absolutely, KVHBTKE. I don't know if that can be said. I ain't going to do it, so I just did that. We don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against principalities. Indeed, we do. And part of what we do here is also, as Ephesians also says, you know, against rulers and against authorities, against a new world order, against these particularly corrupt individuals. They're also what we're fighting against by exposing them. And part of my heartache was like really annoying, Lord, that they've been cutting off our lives and they've been doing that several times. Oh, I'm sorry, you know, my bad. You know, even that computer there, I can't get it to work. It's like, oh, there you go. It's finally decided to do something. I couldn't get that working this morning. And I was like, really? Never had that problem before. It is a battle that we're up against because the enemy wants to silence us. The enemy wants people to be living in darkness and confusion and fear. And that's not what the Lord has for any one of us. He wants us to be, hopeful and positive and, sort of like ready to have our audience and our presence, be with him. That's what he's wanting us to be looking forward to, getting our houses in order, getting our lives in order. To anything in me, Lord, that I need to look at, that I need to be thinking about and putting right before it's too late. Do I have something that I've got to lay down at this altar and go and check out with matey boy something and make right that way? But yeah, you're right. It is that battle, and the victory is the Lord's. And it's been upsetting to see what they can do to the church, silencing us, oppressing us, targeting us, alienating us, sort of like mocking and everything that we endure as well. But Jesus also told us that these things would also be happening. He told us in advance, but he's also told us in advance as well what it is that we have to look forward to. Yeah. Hebrews 12:29 saying, it's an intense spiritual battle, the godly against the ungodly. Absolutely. And this is what we've been saying, isn't it? Really, when the beast and, this whole system really kicks off, they ain't going to be playing nice now, are they? Just imagine what they're going to be like, how crazy, bloodlusting they will be, how violent and perverse when the church is gone. Just look what we're having to literally, hold back the vomit of when we read these articles. Let's go back to some other articles, guys. All right, coming out from ukreloaded.com, a really good resource for you to be adding to your list. Okay, turning around and just reading some of these latest articles and headlines. The tyranny of the cry bully. This is the sort of thing that seems to be happening with the younger generation. Just get a few good actors and a few pictures that are captured, and that's it, waving those Palestinian flags and the LG. Look at, we're the victims, and literally sort of like misusing all of that. Other things coming out here, the latest engineered depopulation war. France anticipates 50,000 casualties monthly as globalists sacrifice Europe in engineered war with Russia. And what we were turning around and saying the other day around, Macron's getting everything ready and tickety-boo for a conflict next year in March, telling hospitals to, stock up and be on this battle war footing. We've already got Trump, Trump sort of like stirring the pot as well. We're having a bit of fight talk with some of these nations. It's all nonsense, by the way. But we've also got over here Nazi Starmer, who's turning around and telling us Brits to get ready for a war and a showdown as well. See what's really happening. This is a great way for them to, rack up some extra points with the game of risk that they're playing with, a huge sort of like fallout when it comes to loss of life through a war. How judges are blocking British drillers. Hundreds of thousands attend the United Kingdom rally in the UK, and the end of the debates when you come around and assassinate people. Continuing over here with the UK, how Sharia courts blow apart Starmer's denial of a two-tier justice system. This is what they want. Please do see on our community post as well how the sort of like Muslims will, apparently begin to play the victim card when they come over, which is why, sort of like immigrants and the justice system will give them that. You're being sort of victimized in your country. Okay, come over here. So they play all of this, and then they go through the emboldened stages of wanting to have their own law and everything like that, and then they'll want to sort of like kill off all of the infidels. Interesting here, von der Leyen's speech continuing the climate scare and preparing for a new pandemic. We're now seeing, guys, all right, we're going to be seeing this increase with the EU trying to get all collective, trying to be emboldened, or going to be the victim, whichever one comes first. But here she was just a few days ago, turning around and talking around the new world order. We played that clip there for you, did we not? And having to be a lot more stronger and putting these battle lines into place. Here she is again, von der Leyen's speech, continuing the climate scare and preparing for a new pandemic. She was quoted as saying just a few days ago, battle lines hello, for a new world order based on power are being drawn right now. Those battle lines that she's turning around aren't just battle lines. That's the dividing of the world into the 10 Club of Rome kingdoms. All right, I'm not going to read out that because that's just a really lengthy article. I want to just share with you, if I may, just some brief headlines, and then we'll go back to that Nazi woman in a minute. Small boat migrants now outnumber the British military. This is it, you know. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Postscript, yeah, but we can't deter any dinghies being set out. Do you know what I mean? It's like unbelievable. Turn around and saying that we're so surveyed and so sort of like spied upon. You can't keep our shores free from these immigrants coming in and out. Massive migration is wrecking Europe's economies. Yeah, deliberately sabotaging it as they invest billions and billions and billions into these migrants, and everyday Brits aren't able to have, you know, anything. Labour's misguided threat to our allotments, also trying to make that illegal as well. Charlie Kirk's assassination, they couldn't prove him wrong, so they killed him. The Brits are rejecting climate change. Don't know if I can read that one out. Yeah, let's just go for it. The Brits are rejecting climate change bollocks as the very real impacts on their daily lives become sadly apparent. Brits are starting to speak out against some of these things. I don't know. Have I been frozen or something, guys? You guys have gone a bit quiet. Have I been frozen or have I been cut off? Am I talking to myself? I can't watch a fight. Okay, that was the last thing. Is everyone still there with us? Or no, you're good. Share saying that's awesome. Okay, so I just, do you know what I mean? It's like they've tried it so many different ways. I've been jibber jabbering, and then no one's been here. Do you know what I mean? Or they've just cut me off, and everything on my end looks all great, and you guys are gone. Do you know what I mean? Making a cup of tea. But okay, let's leave UK Reloaded. I'd like to take us over to Rapture Ready, if I may, and just read out a few of the headlines over there, and then you'll get to see just how what we've been saying around. You know, some channels deliberately avoiding some of these things, but yet going over here. See if this sounds familiar. Strong 7.4 earthquake hits near the coast of Kamchatka, Russia. At least one person dead as record rainfall strikes Tokyo in Japan. Egypt discovers Israeli attempts to kill Hamas leader on its soil. Cybersecurity experts warn the EU against chat control 2.0 regulation ahead of key votes. Hundreds of thousands attend the Unite the Kingdom rally in London. Sorry, it was millions. Anyway, and then here you've got the monstrosity. UN General Assembly adopts one-sided declaration in push towards the Palestinian state. The UN General Assembly voted on September the 12th to adopt the so-called New York Declaration on the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine, as if, which outlines the implementation of a two-state solution and the path towards recognition of a Palestinian state. Jog on. Continuing with this. It's just not London that had the enormous protests. It's global. Thousands of protesters shut down streets across Melbourne today as 4 separate protests were held across the city. It's happening all over the world, in Germany, in Ireland, all over the world. No traction on the lamestream media. Doesn't want them sort of like, you know, knowing. But what's happening? Normal people that ordinarily aren't political, don't go out onto their marches or whatever, are literally pushing back this beast system and saying, we don't want this. Why? Because the Lord God is showing them the darkness, the evil, the depravity of their ideology. And here we go, talking about the crazy ideologies. New York's climate madness could easily lead to blackouts. Please. Why can't their microphones just like die? Or why can't their sort of like nonsensical interviews just collapse? Oh no, it's only the churches. We only want to cut off Christians. Unreal. Exposed office Depot caught marketing political printing, yet blocks Charlie Kirk's tribute as propaganda. What was also really interesting is that the European Union did not want to give Charlie Kirk a moment of silence as a matter of respect for like a minute. Ain't that telling there now? In France, disabled Iraqi Christian Asher Sarnaya, who fled Islamic prosecution, slaughtered with a machete during a TikTok live stream. Didn't hear about that, did you? A society paralyzed by the presence of evil. Netanyahu signs settlement expansion plan in Mela Adumim. Interesting, this is what's going on with Israel as we speak. NATO boosts Eastern Europe defense after Russian drone incursion. Just some headlines there coming out. I want to take us over to Harbinger's Daily and look at a few of these headlines that we're having at the moment. This is not a diplomacy, it is theatre. UN adopts one-sided declaration in push towards a Palestinian state. It is all theatre. Netanyahu declares there will be no Palestinian state. This land is ours. Amen. Do not cough it up. Iranian state media, Charlie Kirk, a venomous and deeply problematic genocide denier. Others are coming out of the woodwork now. Netanyahu on Qatar strike. On 9/11, we remember Israel acts against terror as America did as well. Interesting headlines coming out here as well. The Religious Liberty Commission honors students who stood strong for their religious beliefs. Australian AG reaffirms ban on prayer aimed at changing sexual orientation. Other news headlines coming out. Appeals Court allows Congress to defund Planned Parenthood. District Court, South Carolina man can hold signs sharing the gospel. That's very nice of them, isn't it? Devastating attack. Terrorists in DRC kill more than 70 Christians attending a wake. Don't hear about these things, do we? Trump to posthumously award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Parents file lawsuit after ChatGPT coached a 16-year-old boy to commit suicide. Some headlines there coming out for us, guys. Now, I want to take out some other things here, if I may. Going to be going back to the Nazi Ursula von der Leyen. Other headlines just coming out in times that we've covered some of this. Let's just have that before we tuck into that nasty. The US government official covered up evidence vaxxed kids were 200 times more likely to die than unvaxxed. Biden admin spent 10 million in taxpayers' funds on transgender lab rats. And here we go. Ukraine adds Russian toddlers to state-backed kill list. See what we're talking about? The culture of death, guys. And Big Pharma stocks plummet as White House links COVID jabs to turbo cancers. Unreal. Let's go to the article today that we're just going to be reading. Von der Leyen unveils new EU censorship push, online digital ID plans. Well, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has unveiled a raft of new regulatory measures that introduce new challenges for digital rights and freedom of expression across the continent and the world. The EU chief made the announcement during her 2025 State of the Union speech, framed as measures for public health, democracy, really, and child protection, lol. The Commission is actually pushing the EU deeper into institutionalized censorship and online regulation. InfoWars reports that addressing the European Parliament, von der Leyen declared, quote, she is appalled by the disinformation that threatens global progress on everything from measles to polio. It's not disinformation when you do your science, sweetheart. All right? When you do critical analysis, when you have longitudinal studies, when you're placing these items underneath a microscope and warming them up to body temperature to see the self-assembly nanotechnology that's in there, connecting you to the Internet of Body and the Internet of Things. Now, it ain't so much disinformation or misinformation, scientific fact there now. This is why they're so incessant, okay, on this. And this is why, you know, Musk is the controlled opposition, because you can only get some of these clips, some of these images, some of these videos on his platform. But everywhere else, every other search engine, completely and utterly paid and bought off. You can't find any of these things without them controlling the narrative, or without them being so pathetic and so lame that they want to put the AI overview on it. And I've seen so many videos online at the moment where you've got this AI overview. It's like, you are so friggin' lazy. You can't scroll down and find a human being to write this out for you. And you're believing what they're saying? Are you kidding me? What did we turn around and expose some of these videos just recently? What we just read in an article about ChatGPT. Videos coming out as well, and how deviant and mischievous this really is, using this technology to spy and use against us, to control and manipulate the narrative by deleting absolutely everything there. It's not misinformation when you have an increase in deaths, sudden adult deaths, supercharged cancers, and the like, let alone the sterilization of everybody. So this is awful that you have the EU turn around saying, oh, this is the greatest threat to really disinformation, misinformation. Look at how pathetic they are when they have to put these banners on our videos. Talk about the climate change. We talk to, you know, even mention the New World Order. And look what happened the other day. The exact same thing. Talk about New World Order. Oh, no, you don't. That's a conspiracy. No, it's not, when you've got Ursula von der Leyen herself saying it. Come on there now. These are the ones that want to literally turn around, as Jesus says, and say what is truth, what is lie, what is bitter is sweet, what is good is evil, evil is good. This is what they want to do, is flip it all on its head. And we need to speak up and speak out against these lies. Citing fears of a global health crisis, she's introduced, crazy Nazi witch she really is, a global health resilience initiative, which she said the EU would lead. Really? And then we've got Pegasus over here right now in the UK as the pandemic preparedness exercise, with all of these nations on the sly signing up to the World Health Organization Pandemics Treaty, making it legal to force vaccinate and imprison you against your will, let alone all the other coercive measures that will be there as well, the excluding of society. All it takes is us to have one more of that round with all these boosters, with everything else, just to get those that are vaccine hesitant, the pure bloods, might I add. But really introducing a global health resilience initiative. This initiative is expected to tie online speech more tightly to global health narratives. They have now what they've done with censoring us over the years, because we spoke out against this, laying the groundwork for broader suppression of dissenting views under the label of medical misinformation. Or they just terminate your life, mess about with that, bury your work, shadow ban it, blacklist it, AI algorithms against it, human, interference in keyboard warrior form, suppressing the truth because it doesn't want you to know what's in these vaccines. And this is what I've been screaming out as much as I possibly can with my vocals, saying, look, guys, at what they do to our channel. We'll get less than a few hundred. Do you know what I mean? And I watch these other videos, and before it's even got to an hour, before I've even had time to even boil myself a cup of tea and come back for it, they're in tens of thousands or thousands and thousands. And I'm just like, okay, then enjoy the beast system's fruit. Unreal. Turning around and saying that they're laying the groundwork for broader suppression of dissenting views under the label of medical misinformation. Look what they're also doing with the lie and excuse of trying to protect children. And look what ChatGPT just literally did to a child that's been, you know, sort of groomed into suicide, as well as, you know, other devices, technology also, like the Alexas, trying to encourage children to stick forks into flipping plug sockets. Do you know what I mean? Sick individuals. And then they want to put this online safety bill. Then all of a sudden it'd be a case of takes 1 or 2 people just to make a complaint. I get thrown into jail. That's where it's all going. Another centerpiece of her address was the so-called European Democracy Shield. Give over. A program that we've covered in great detail, intended to streamline and centralize the Commission's censorship machinery under the banner of fighting foreign information manipulation and interference. It's like, unless you're on these guys' page and their narrative and you sing from their song sheet, you are literally perceived as a threat, which is why they are coming after Christians, because they're BS free. They speak the truth. They don't want the church coming out and being unified. They want to cause that dissent. But these guys are working in such unity and being in tandem. It's unbelievable. The pretense that they want to have a European democracy shield as they water down freedom of speech, the right to protest, religious freedom acts, our human rights, our privacy by spying on our devices and the like. Hypocrites. Framing the internet as a battlefield, she said, our democracy is under attack. Whose democracy? The rise in information manipulation and disinformation is dividing our societies. Do you see what they literally do? They use these very cleverly worded, coined terms to twist it all up a little bit, just like their father, who is nothing but a liar, who will blend in a little bit of truth to the lie. Because that what she has just said is absolutely right, but they are the ones that distorted it when they're lying, when they're concealing this information, when they're coercing and manipulating and silencing dissent. Our democracy is under attack. You're absolutely right, it is, by evil Fabian Marxists, WEF, infiltrated young global leaders or young global shapers, Luciferian cults of destroying our democracy. The rise in information manipulation. It's not manipulation if you provide in video form the evidence, which is why we can no longer make any more videos. Because when I made these videos, I would find the people themselves saying it. All right. And I'd find those resources and I'd put it together and I'd put the information out there. So by the time that you got through one of our videos, if you could cope with death by PowerPoint as well as information overload, it was there deliberately done so that it would be beyond contestation in the point that we were trying to make, from multiple sources, from professional practitioners, from insiders, whistleblowers, or dare I actually say experts. Not my words that I would use. I'd do the voiceovers to some of it, but for the most part, I'd allow that to happen and be shaped itself. That's not disinformation and misinformation. That is factual. So when you get individuals like Bill Gates turning around and saying, oh, well, if we can, be successful with these vaccines and reduce the population, that guy's got a Depop agenda. I'm going to make a video about that there now. And then he's pumping mRNA in and he's doing all of these other evil things. I'm going to expose that individual. Last night I was on my prayer walk and I was really upset because it was like, Lord, this isn't okay that the beast system continues to do that. It doesn't get to gob off, mouth off and do what it does without being exposed. Does it? Because that's not okay in my book. We are the restrainer. The beast system shouldn't be restraining us. We should be restraining it. As your representatives, as your ambassadors, those that shine your glorious light upon evil and darkness, Ephesians 5:11 style, and sounding the alarm, has no right, has no power. It's not his time yet to be doing these sorts of things, pushing us back, pushing us away. That's why they don't want me making these videos, because I can't make them anymore. And the Palantir technology ain't having that either. 24 Palantir, agreements and deals signed up by the British government, and then one with BlackRock. Cause equals effect. And apparently all of this misinformation and disinformation is dividing our society because people have had enough of being lied to when they can see the evidence themselves. Oh, that looks a little bit funny. I wonder what those come to. Do you know what I mean? Ask him the question yourself. That's what science is. That's what a healthy democracy is. But they don't want a democracy. They want a totalitarian, Nazified state of utter control. Hunger Games mentality, if you will, where you are subservient, where you are forced into, open air prisons with 15-minute cities, where you're tracked and you're surveyed, you're manipulated, stuck on a social credit score with the imprisoning of this digital public infrastructure, all gearing up to the mark of the beast. They don't want you being able to procreate. They don't want to emphasize the importance of these biblical values of family, of male sort of like leadership. They don't want none of that. They want to confuse your understanding of the way that the world works through lying and manipulation and coercion, telling such lies when it comes to the education system and the manipulation of the curriculum, confusing young minds to this particular degree, sexualizing them in advance, and then having the audacity and the nerve to say that you're there to protect them. Are you kidding me? Expanding on that framework, she announced the creation of a new institution, the European Centre for Democratic Resilience. Really? According to von der Leyen, this centre will allow the EU to scale up its ability, wait for it there now, to monitor and detect information manipulation and disinformation. How so? According to whom? Who says what is truth and false and lie and whatever, as if these guys are the orators and the morally acceptable individuals in our society? They're liars and they serve the father of lies. According to what particular narrative? According to freedom of speech, where we have freedom of speech and we have human rights. And look at how they are infringing and encroaching upon them because it doesn't serve their ambitions. So they're going to be able to monitor and detect this information, manipulation and disinformation. Who's to say that is the case? But we're ramping it up now, guys. But the agenda didn't stop there. She's introduced the media resilience program as well. Really? Which she claimed would support independent journalism and media literacy. Are you kidding me? With all of the media blackouts that happen, where they don't want to be reporting on anything like that. They don't want to be talking about the climate lie. They don't want to be talking about these other vaccine injuries and stuff. They're slowly starting to do it. But they don't do that anymore because they've got no journalistic integrity. They're bought and they're paid off having an independent journalism and media literacy. Really? The Fox Newses and the CNN styly, sort of like videos that we all remember when they're there. Oh, pretend you're being shot, in Israel. And always just come on. The mainstream media, absolute laugh. The church is doing the media's job for it by reporting and exposing the evil. But these guys want to drink from that trough where they've lied and been so deceptive. And in these guys' cases, I will say this. In their case, no news is good news. Continuing. In practice, however, such efforts often result in government-approved messaging, being amplified while dissenting outlets don't get funded. No, of course they don't. You're not going to fund someone that's opposing you, which is why they've got all this climate stuff going on, isn't it? Well, yeah, you're going to go over to that particular area of the world that we really sprayed with loads of barium, loads of salts, loads of metals. Do all your sort of like sample testing or whatever, and then hey, it's climate change. It's man-made. It's all our fault. Do you know what I mean? Really? But someone actually wants to do longitudinal science and find that this isn't actually happening. They don't want to know about that. Here you go. The government-approved messaging amplified using these platforms as their mouthpieces. Von der Leyen pointed to declining local journalism. Killed them off, sweetheart, in rural communities and claimed This has created many news deserts where disinformation thrives. This is why we will launch a new media resilience program. It will support independent journalism and media literacy. That's because people don't want to read your BS. They don't want to be reading your lines. They ain't stupid, and you treated them like fools. This is why they're so hell-bent on trying to get people to have that element of trust again. This is why you've got the controlled opposition in Trump and Vance and RFK Jr. and Musk and all these other individual clowns, because they're literally wanting, to regain your trust after throwing it all, and you under the bus before it. All ready to get your trust when it comes to the mark of the beast. This is what they're trying to literally do: salvage something pertaining to a credibility. Despite the existing Digital Service Act already mandating age verification and therefore digital ID, subtle. Online, von der Leyen floated a new, even more restrictive direction for internet access among young people. Drawing inspiration from Australia's controversial 2024 Online Safety Amendment, which includes a social media ban for those under 16, she suggested the EU could move forward with similar rules. We're talking about freedom, isn't it? We're talking about the freedom to make those informed decisions yourself. Some of you guys here saying, yeah, we want to see these images, or we don't want to see these images, and that's entirely up to you. You've got the right to hide behind, for your own protection and safety, your own username. So I don't know who that is, whether you're male, whether you're female. You've got that right to have some security and privacy and confidentiality, but they want to strip those veils off and then try and sell it to you. They're protecting you by giving you ID. These children also should be able to hide behind some of these things, but no, they want their IDs. Why? When you're so untrustworthy with the information and the data collected, and giving you none of that, no chance. This continues. Just as in my days, we as a society taught our children they could not smoke, drink, and watch adult content until a certain age, I believe it is time we consider doing the same thing for social media, she said. Well, then start from the top down when it comes to movie violence, and start putting proper certificates on these sorts of things. Start doing the same with music. Start doing the same with the TV. You want to uphold these particular values that you say you used to once have, then start imposing that upon the directors and the movie makers, and start that way. I can't, and this is what's hilarious. It's just like, it's not as if I was putting some of our content on YouTube that got us literally sort of like banned from these platforms. Wasn't able to do it really on Telegram either, and that was completely taken down. Zero growth, losing, just hemorrhaging every day. Same thing with Rumble. Ought to be a safe platform to be able to have some of these sort of like discussions, show you some of that evidence, and even that wasn't okay. So even if there is a platform like you have here on YouTube, is this video made for a child? No, it's not. I'm going to tick a box that this is just for adults. I said it in all of our videos on Telegram and the like. Every video that we ever have and ever will make will never be for children. So just leave us alone. Give adults a safe space. Give children their space. And when they are older, yeah, fair enough. The entire speech signals a continued consolidation of control over digital spaces by EU institutions, with a heavy focus on regulating speech and tightening access restrictions. The Nazi von der Leyen, the EU president, unveils new EU censorship push and online digital ID plans. We're seeing this going to be, ramped up now, guys, when it comes to the European Union. Just want to see what some of you guys have got to say before we bounce. Yeah, Cher saying, yeah, so many movies are pre-programming and so many are coming together. Exactly. It's called just psychological grooming. Yeah, that's what I know. I know our show does that. Our show is like, I don't want to watch some of these violent stuff. I just watch the old black and whites. Do you know what I mean? Just sometimes I have to sort of like dial back out of that. I'm the opposite. I'm sort of like, oh, okay, that's a good special effect, and sort of like stuff like that. I don't, but I'm aware that I'm sort of like condoning that. I'm not good when it comes to that. Yeah, Alison saying it. Yeah, there you go, Alison. Bless you. If the Lord doesn't return soon, there will be hardly any Christians left. And this is part of what we've been saying here, guys, is that the Lord turns around and says, for the sake of the elect, I will shorten those days. Yeah, I believe that the Lord just, bookended that 7 years. So that's it, man. You ain't going to be any more like 15 or 20 or 10 or whatever. That's going to be it. It's going to be the 7. But I also believe, personally, it was about the years before that as well. Because these guys with their depopulation and sterilizing programs and their Georgia Guidestones and everything of that sort, there wouldn't literally be any one of us left. There'd be nothing for the Lord Jesus to come back and rule and reign over after the seals, the trumpets and the bowls and the 2 witnesses and the Battle of Armageddon, let alone what monstrosities the beast system itself will be doing as well. It will literally just be us coming back to an empty earth. There'd be no point in it whatsoever. So there has to be some that survive. There has to be something and a capping of that. Where are we now? Literally maybe 9 days away, eight to 9 days away, guys, potentially from a high watch time, which is just a high watch time that I always go through anyway, immaterial of what's been happening with Joshua and other channels. High watch time when it comes to the Feast of Trumpets. And I'll be started on my high watch sort of like time, literally at 4:30, okay, Greenwich Mean Time over here in the UK, because that's sundown in Israel at 6:30. Israel is 2 hours ahead of us. Okay, so that's when I'm going to be looking at, that when it first comes. And then as per, the Galilean way, and I'm going to be staying up to about 10 or whatever and having the midnight hour watch and therein, hoping and praying that we do get out of here, because we don't belong here, guys. We are being marginalized and excluded from society. We don't want the way that the world is. They can have it. They want their darkness. They can have it. We want to be with the Lord Jesus. And there's not going to be many of those, channels left. Everyone's also, and a lot of people are falling away from the faith. And my heart is really sort of like anxious. I'll be really honest with you. I'll be vulnerable with you now. I'm more anxious than I am excited, because I'm like, if this just doesn't happen, it's going to absolutely sideswipe the body of Christ. A lot of people are going to stop watching. Some might fall away from the faith or have their faiths shipwrecked because of it. And I'm not wanting that to happen. I want to go more than anything, but that's a big possibility. So for me, I'm more anxious about that, about picking up the pieces if we are still here. These channels that are going to have to pick up those pieces should the Lord decide to tarry. And I've seen the calculations. I've seen every single video that everyone else has. But I am more anxious than I am excited because of that. The other reason why I'm still being vulnerable with you guys, the other reason as well is that I'm not sure I really want to be having, now that it might be upon us, my end of life appraisal. I have a fear of my God. The Lord is to be honored, feared, and revered. I've given an account of my life, of my decisions, of my choices. I know I'm forgiven. I know I'm set free. I ain't looking forward to my works being tested by fire. I'm not looking forward to having to give an answer for myself in some of these things. I've turned away from those things and I've repented of them in that sense. But I still have that anxiety because I know I'm before a holy God and I'm going to be before him. That sketches me out. That makes me very worried, very anxious. I haven't got, and I've been asking for it, that excitement, that joy and whatever. And I don't have it because that's not where the Lord has kept my vision or wanted me to be looking at. I've asked for dreams about being excited for heaven and the rapture. And all my dreams are like I'm being chased or I'm being attacked. Last night was a prime example of them. Every single night. So I'm just like, you trying to tell me something there? So it's really difficult sometimes what the Lord does show some and what he doesn't show others. But I do, agree with the count that we've got going on with the 2550. you know, 1260 and 1290. Yeah, coming back on the 15th of September 2032. I get it all. It's all here. But I'm anxious as well. I have to be really honest. I'm really anxious about it. And I hope the Lord is like, this is it. Because it's got to happen sometime. And just like it was 8 years ago, everyone was just like, yeah, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it. And everyone was like gearing around, you know, Scotty Clark and all of that sort of stuff. And it didn't happen, man. And I was crushed. So many of us were. And it's okay to have these anxieties. It's okay to have these fears. We've got to walk through these fears and walk through these anxieties, not to sort of like, you know, belittle the disappointment factor of feeling that we've been spiritually stood up, but being real about that as well, because it matters so much to us. If it didn't matter, then we'd be like, oh, well, never mind, go to the next one then. It's not like that, because we want to be with Jesus. We want to see his face, and we want to be in his house, and we want to be in his presence, and we know exactly really what's going to be going on, as if we don't know what's going on already, when we depart, and what's going to be left for the left behind, how barbaric and savage it's going to be, how violent and bloody. And that's just what the beast system will do. We know about the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls, and the two witnesses, and the battle of Armageddon, and all of the other things that we're seeing as well. This is why we read in Isaiah 55:6, seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him whilst he is near. Call upon the name of the Lord and be saved. There's little time, potentially. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, that he may have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. God is so faithful to forgive us of our sins if we just confess them. Yeah, just because it's all done don't mean that we shouldn't be doing that on an everyday basis. We're in a relationship with Jesus. That's my prayer every day. Forgive me, Lord, for everything I think, say, and do, known and unknown. That's it, and I leave it there. And the Holy Spirit wants to say, oi, sunshine, you ain't getting off that easy. You need to think about this. Then I'll have to go there with it. But the Lord is so compassionate, forgiving me of everything, set me free from so many amazing things, being imprisoned to addiction and other areas of my life. The Lord is faithful and he is just. And time is getting really short when we need to be thinking about, getting our houses in order. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is our time, our moment. Hi, Gary. Good morning. Bless you. Great to have you with us. Hi there, Sylvia. Ursula Sheba. Oh, she's just, I'm telling you, just such a, I'm not going to do it, Lord. I'm not going to do it. I ain't going to do it. So I'm not saying sorry for that later. All right. So let's just not do it now, Dan. Okay. Yeah. Sylvia's saying here, almost feel like so many have their eyes that have shut their ears. It's understandable, you know. You guys have got a really strong spine as well. All right, you're as tough as old boots, you lot, because you come here every day, 6 days a week, and we talk about all of this darkness, all of this horrible stuff, and we don't sugarcoat it. We don't paint it as anything other than it just being awful, evil, and sucks. All right, you guys are really great at doing that. You don't put your fingers in your ears. You ain't blotting out your eyes. You're here because you want to know. And there's something about what it is the Lord's got us reported on that piques your interest, that you're interested in, because you can discern truth from lie. And you're intelligent individuals yourselves. But many have blotted out their ears because they don't want to hear it anymore. And you can understand that, you know, some of, you know, I'm still praying. Do I tell some of my family members about this when I've done this so many times over 8 years? Telling them, this could be it, this could be it, this, you know, giving them the videos, giving them that, letting them have a think about it, and then it's just like burn. They just go, wait, they just take about 1,000 million steps back, and I'm thinking, okay, that wasn't very helpful. What do? All I can do is just pray and submit them to God. That's all I can do. But yeah, many have still want to hear about some of these things, and that's okay, and I get that too. This ministry is not for everybody, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, no one seems to notice. No one seems to care. Yeah. So we're saying, Dan, how much longer do you think you'll be able to report before they shut stuff down? Honest question here. Okay, there's backup plans that I've got in my head in terms of if they shut me down, what am I going to do? We already have 2 backup channels elsewhere, one of which I would encourage you to please join. There's about 130 odd people there now. All right, and then you've got to go through, you know, sort of like three strike rule when it comes to that. So we've got 2 of those, and I've got team members that will happily set up other channels for us. So it don't bother me. I'll do this until I am taken, and that's it. And if they mess about with that, then I'll change the name and I'll rejig it that way. And if I can't make videos, I'll just do posts. And if I can't do posts, then I'm going to do something else. I'm not going to say online what it is that I've got bang tidy. But if you can see what's next to me on my side, you'll see a microphone there, and you'll also see my ability to be able to do podcasts and the like. So you might not be able to see me, but you're going to hear me. And I ain't got no problem setting up other stuff like we've done before. We set up websites and other things, and they fell apart, but it didn't matter now, and we still tried. I've trained some of our team to be able to make videos themselves, and that can be done. And I'm also on Truth Social as well. All right, so there's enough platforms for us to be getting our message out, but I'm going to still be here as long as I possibly can. And if they arrest me, they arrest me. If they take me down and, you know, waste me, fine, whatever. I'm not bothered. But I'm going to carry on as long as I possibly can until I'm told to get off my wall. But already, may I say, not in boast or arrogance, as far as our team is concerned, and I'm speaking on behalf of our team, we have faithfully executed the role of a watchman. We've done it. It's done. Anything now is a postscript bonus. We've done it. Go to our Rumble channel, 918 videos there. Okay, we've had 6 channels taken down from here, and we've had the same amount in other platforms as well. We've done it. We've done our jobs. If the Lord calls time right now, that's it. Fair enough. So every live that I do, we do, and then the post afterwards is like me literally saying, Lord, if that is the last that I ever do, I am happy with that. I am happy with that. I'm happy for this live to be my last ever. And I'm happy also and have the stomach and the heart for 1,000,000 trillion more channels and battles. That's how I'm wired. The Lord has given me some resilience. I can't explain it. And some sort of like strength that I don't understand. Ordinarily, I would have probably been like, I'm done with this now. No, I'm not. I can't. I'm a dog, mad dog with a bone. I'm not giving up. I can't unsee what I've been shown. When you take the red pill, you can't go back. And I'm honored and all glory to the Lord Jesus for giving us what he has given us these years, allowing us to see what we have, report what we have. And I hope and pray in the Father's house that there'll be people coming up and saying, mate, I'm telling you, man, thank you for that. Thank you for what y'all did. That'll be amazing. If we end up saving lives, I'd be even more made up if someone was like actually a Christian that gave their life, you know, based upon our ministry. But what we are now doing is, you know, modeling and mirroring, hopefully, and I'm a crap way of doing it, I get it, but I'm just going to go for it anyway, what it is to persist when you get knocked down, you get setbacks, and they start messing with all this, when you have to rebuild and start all over, what it's like trying to mirror and model and be an example of speaking out against this beast system that's going to kill and murder, you know, millions and millions when we're gone. There were some channels that stood up to the beast, didn't bend over, didn't dilute their message in accordance to these demonic guidelines and rules and regulations, kept boldly speaking out, kept true to the faith. Maybe that will be an example for them as they endure hardship and horrors through the tribulation. Maybe that's our hope. I know that I've had that in my life, where I've had some really great teachers of that, some real champions of the faith. God has always sent me the best people to teach and train me. I'm not saying I'm nowhere in their category, but I've learned so much for them that you don't give up. What we were saying the other day, suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. Man, we've suffered. Man, we've had to persevere, and that shaped us accordingly, toughened us up. It's given a window of tolerance and an inner strength so that we can hold these things, so we don't go crumbling, we don't go crying off, you know. So as long as the Lord will have it, you know, I don't have anything else other than doing these lives each day. I have nothing else in my life other than these lives. So it's all I've got left personally. And for all that the Lord Jesus has done for me, well, I can't give it all for him. So you know, as long as the Lord wills it. And I'm surprised that we haven't received strikes yet. Crikey, we've had those for far less. So it's the Lord's. But is it, or could it be that the beast system's like, well, there's only, you know, they're all going on the 23rd, just leaving church. You know what I mean? Was cause mayhem and will cause this. They ain't going to stop me none. These guys have got no idea. I do not give up. That's why I struggled for so many years with addiction, because I couldn't give it up. Do you know what I mean? You know, I just don't. I'm stupid like that. Yeah, Cher saying, surprised we still have this platform, and glory to the Lord that there is, because you guys have been able to see through all of this, yeah, our Rumble channel, and go and get all the information and facts there for yourself. There you go. Thank you, Sherry, planting that on for us. God has intervened that this does continue. Absolutely. That's been my prayer. It's like, Lord, you know, I will keep on going. I will do this. Even if you tarry for another 20 years, I will still do this. I'm never, ever giving up. And there's nothing else in my life that I would rather do than this. I consider this to be the greatest honor of my life, being a watchman for the Lord. And I take it really seriously. I mean, I've had some great titles in my past and qualified with some great professionals, but nothing compared to this. To be used by God, little old me, in the middle of nowhere, a desk in my bedroom with a sort of like second-hand laptop and a dodgy old iPad and a dyslexic guy with like dodgy teeth. Hilarious, but all glory to the Lord. Anyway, enough of that, you know. But bless you. Okay, let's leave that here. All right, I'm going to put on von der Leyen's crazy sort of article. We're going to put that up into the description box there for you guys. Do take a read. I will try and find something. I didn't do that the other day. I'm sorry. I had enough. Just telling you, I was like, just can't take this no more. But I will do the sort of like description boxy thing, and then the thumbnail thing. We'll put something nasty in about Ursula von der Leyen. Why not? All right. And then I'll put in a community post in about 10-20 minutes. Okay. And God bless you guys. Thank you very much to our Cher and our Sherry and the team for just being awesome. Thank you guys for sticking with us, and also the 31 that decided to rock up. All right, and just give us a little bit of your time as well. Really do appreciate you guys checking in and just showing us some love. So God bless each and every one of you, and we will talk tomorrow if we're still here. All right, bye now.